Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, this is so fun. It's a lot of familiar faces. Some of you probably recognize each other too. So happy New Year. I see Lana, Becky, Sherry, Suzanne. I think there might be a couple more jumping on in the next couple minutes. And in the space of making sure we get the most out of our time together the next hour, I just want to invite you just to close your eyes and if you want, or gaze down and just go internal, and let's take a couple deep breaths together just to get yourself here to this present moment where life happens, where everything happens, where all the magic happens right here, right now. And just breathing down all the way down into your belly, maybe even expanding that thought to breathing all the way down to your toes. The deepest breath possible. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and just taking a moment to enjoy scanning your body. Just notice what you're noticing. Maybe there's excitement there in your stomach. Maybe there's sadness behind your eyes. Maybe there's something physical happening that's uncomfortable. And don't try to change it, fix it, judge it, label it necessarily. Just be with it. Sometimes just being with ourselves is the most beautiful gift we can give ourselves. So just taking a couple more deep breaths. And as you do, I invite you to ask your heart, what was your intention for coming today? Doesn't have to be fancy. Just asking, what was your intention? And then when you're ready, just coming back to the room, maybe taking a big stretch, moving your body in a way that feels good. Our bodies were built to move. That's one of the most enlivening things we can do, is just move our body. Awesome. Okay. So welcome to this training. The topic is how to achieve your health intentions and goals for 2024. So give me a thumbs up if that's like you're in the right place. Awesome. You're not like, what? I thought this was like a how to make money. No, I'm kidding. Okay, awesome. I won't try to share. I won't try to be good at everything. Okay, so welcome, Shamini. So yeah, if you want to come on camera, it's always fun to see your beautiful shining faces. But yeah, what I want to first invite as we begin, I'm super excited to share really the roadmap as I see it on how to really achieve your goals for your health, no matter how many years you've struggled, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or whether you used to have it really together and then it kind of fell apart recently with your health. And before I do that, I always like to make these interactive. So you obviously don't have to share, but I think it's good to start with the end in mind. So I wanted you to just take a moment to think about and feel into, what would you love to experience for your health this year? It could be very specific. I want to release or lose or drop 15 pounds, or it could be, I want to be able to hike a certain mountain with ease, or it could be, I want to move well and stop being in pain and have more ease in my body, or so it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter because it matters a lot, but we're all going to have a different one, right? So I just want to invite you, take 2 minutes. And sometimes for me, writing helps me. So if you want to grab a notebook, but just, I'm going to put 2 minutes on the timer. And I just want you to really feel into, what would you love for your physical health? Maybe there's more energy you desire. Maybe you want to move with more ease. Maybe you want more strength so you can do more exciting activities. Some people, maybe it's just, I'm in so much pain, I can barely move. And some people, maybe it's like, I want to travel the world and, be able to hike mountains or anything in between. So just taking a couple minutes here, just journaling, maybe if you're not in the place to journal, maybe just reflecting. You can't do this wrong. I was on a call kind of like this morning, and I was walking my dog. So she's like, make sure you have a pen. And I'm like, well, I don't have a pen. But it was still great. So if you're not totally able to journal, that's okay. You're going to still get lots out of this. And I was kind of reflecting as you're journaling, I'll just share. I was reflecting this morning on what I think physical health is. Not that it has to mean what it means for you, but I thought about it and I thought, for me, it means moving with ease and power. So for me, that means moving well, moving free from pain, having confidence to be able to do what I want. If I want to go play tennis, I don't have to be scared I'm going to tear my ACL or roll my ankle or tear my Achilles. Like I want to be able to do things like that. So for me, that was one. I want to move with ease and power. Another one was I want to be resilient to disease. So I want to feel like I'm doing what I can. Obviously, I can't control everything. I can't control my genetics. I can't control certain parts of my environment. But I want to just make sure I'm doing what I can to be resilient to, if someone's sneezing all over me, I'm like, I'm going to stay healthy because my immune system is as good as it can be, that kind of thing. Living at a healthy and comfortable weight. For me, that's an important part of being healthy because if I carry excess weight, my back starts to hurt, my knees start to hurt. We all know excess weight is associated with heart challenges and different types of cancer risks and things like that. And then for me, the last part of physical health is just like energy. Like, I could have all the time and all the money, but if I don't have energy, I'm not going to be living my best life. So anyway, those are just some ideas. You might feed off those or resonate. But yeah, throw in the chat. What's your physical health desire, intention, goal for 2024? It could be an overall kind of thing. Or it could be like really specific just in the next few months. Can't do it wrong. This is kind of just like a get the juices flowing moment. I'm going to drink some tea. This is like one of my favorite things to talk about is like intentions. And by the way, if you're feeling resistance to this, that's like really juicy information for you to like lean into, like, why am I so resistant to sharing what my goal is? And my bet is it's probably because you've set this similar goal before and not achieved it. And I can tell you that I have been there in so many areas of my life where I set a goal 10 times, 10 years in a row and didn't achieve it. So please, one thing we're going to talk about today is really why you didn't achieve it. And it's not because you were lacking strategy. I can tell you that. Yeah. Okay. Shamini wrote in the chat. Hi, welcome, Nancy. We're just reflecting and sharing. If you'd like to share in the chat what you would love to achieve. What's your intention for your health for 2024? So Shamini wrote to get stronger and to release 20 or 10 pounds. Awesome. I'm just gonna, if we can just keep ourselves on mute so there's no background noise. I think everyone else is like on their iPad or phone and doesn't want to type in. So, as you share, Sherry wants to remove remainder of weight. Yeah, continue to increase confidence, stay up in mood. I love that, Sherry. Yeah, keep sharing in there. So as you're sharing your health goal, I love to just know to make sure we're, to add some energy, but also so I know I'm going to be sharing relevant information in this training. Suzanne, build strength overall, build strength to rehab my knee injury, ACL injury, have faith in my body. Yeah, it can rebuild. Yes. Lana had knee replacement surgery 3 months ago. Goal is to hike all the beautiful trails in Kelowna. Yeah, Helena just moved from Calgary to Kelowna fairly recently. That's awesome. Releasing a few pounds, moving with ease, Sharon aging well, be ready to hike and walk in New Zealand in 40 days. Oh my gosh, amazing. They call it trekking in New Zealand, just so you know. I'm sure you knew that. They don't call it hiking, they call it trekking. Becky, I spent like 4 years in New Zealand. I would go when it was our summer, I'd spend the winter there to snowboard, not quotes, to snowboard and trek. I also trekked. Becky, move with ease, fit back into skinny clothes, keep immune system strong. Love it. Energy, sleep well. Yeah, Nancy, 10 pounds gone. Okay, amazing. I love it. Kate, feel free to drop anything in the chat. So I want to talk today about, most people, most of the industry, and I have these hilarious magazines. My mother-in-law was like, "Do you want these?" And I'm like, "I don't know, do I?" It's like she reads these and it's like fat just melt falls off, and all of them were like weight loss related. It was like lose 15 pounds this week, and it's just so funny. I'm like, I kind of do want these because these are hilarious. Drop 53 pounds before Christmas. So anyway, but then it's funny to me. It's always funny to me because this is the plight that we face. A lot of us, we want to release weight. And really the how is not that, it's not complicated. It's really, really not complicated. And so, the how is move your body, exercise, physical activity, joyful movement, whatever you call it. Do that regularly. The government says 30 minutes a day. I don't know, take that or toss it. Maybe you do more. Maybe you do 3 days a week, but you exercise and move your body. And less than 20% of North Americans are getting enough physical activity to even maintain a baseline of health. So that's A, move your body. I don't think that's so complicated, but it's simple, but it's not easy. And I'm going to explain why it's not easy in a couple minutes. The second thing is eat generally moderately healthy, clean eating, healthy eating, whatever. I'm not a diet fan, but have a healthy diet, eat a healthy diet. Diet technically just means a way of eating, but then the diet industry, I feel like, has taken the word and at least made it feel yucky to me. So I don't usually use the word diet, but a way of eating that's generally clean. And then I feel like the other two parts of being healthy is like sleep enough and get enough rest. And then make sure your stress isn't out of control, because stress really can be the enemy of motivation, of recovery, of I don't know if I go into this, we could talk for an hour on this, but if you're really stressed, it's hard to make positive health choices. With food, stress is associated with emotional eating and comfort eating, and just like physiologically needing to survive through the stress. So we eat carbs and sugar and drink wine and eat all the things when we're stressed. So those are important things. So exercise, food, sleep, and stress. Those are kind of like, that's a strategy. And I said in my email, I'm like, I'm not going to go really deep on the strategy, because unless you're like literally eating at McDonald's every day and laying on the couch and you don't know anything, I assume that you probably don't need more strategy. You don't need another diet. You don't need another fitness regime. You need the stick-to-itness. You need the commitment. Is anyone resonating with this? And I know none of you on this call are eating at McDonald's every day and laying on the couch all day. So that's kind of what, if that's where you're at, listening to the recording, no judgment. Maybe you do need some basic knowledge of like how to exercise and how to eat. But because I know the people on this call generally know that, and I generally knew that too, but I still struggled endlessly with my health. That's why I'm excited today to talk more about the mindset, the energy we bring to our goals. Does this make sense? Are we tracking? Okay, cool. So the first thing I want to talk about is your belief. So literally 1% of doubt in yourself is going to unravel the entire goal you have. So if you set a goal and you do not believe you can achieve it, it's a non-starter. Don't bother. So that's why I'm not saying don't start, but let's figure out why you don't believe in yourself. So put in the chat, from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't believe I can achieve that goal at all, and 10 being like, that's in the bag. I just got to take a few action steps and keep consistent, and it's in the bag. and give, and maybe 5 is like, I'm kind of in between. So put in the chat if 10 is like, I know this is going to happen. I have not even 1% doubt. I have unshakable belief in myself. And 1 is like, oh God, I am full of self-doubt and dread and fear, and I'm so resistant right now. I don't even want to be on this call. I feel sick to my stomach. Like, that's kind of like 1. So yeah, pop it in the chat. Awesome. Okay, so we've got some 8s, some 9s. And so I want you to think about what would be the difference. What's the gap? What would make it so you were 10 out of 10? And this is maybe a bigger conversation for like a deeper call, but like what's the gap, right? Like Shamini's like, it's a 10. I've done it before. I know I could do it again. Awesome. I just lapsed. Maybe you just like got busy with family at holidays and now you're like, okay, I'm back on track. I got no doubt. I know I can do this. I did it 2 months ago. I'm going to do it again. Like that's pretty, like Shamini's is like, okay, I got this. It's a 10. And that's where I want all of you. Okay. So how do we get from a 4 to a 10? How do we get from a 6 to a 10? So, or an 8, even an 8. So I want you to think about what is it and pop it in the chat. What is it that makes you not a 10? And often it's, I've tried before and failed. I'm super busy. I've got an injury. You know, my life is so up in the air. My kids keep getting sick, my husband. And so like, there's just like this like uncertainty about your external situation. So yeah, pop in the chat. What makes you feel like you're like not a total 10 for the goal? Like you want it, you like it, it makes you excited, but also there's like something that's, you're not totally confident. Okay. And I just want to talk through each one. So schedule, Becky, and we can all learn from each other, right? So I want you to bite-size this goal down to like the next couple weeks, a lot of people find 6 weeks is a good time frame, 4 weeks. What do you need to put in the schedule to make sure you move towards this? So I just want to see Becky's goal. Move with ease, fit back in skinny clothes. So I would even say, let's go, before we go to this, let's think about what do I need to do? Let's go there. What's your plan? What do I need to do to get there? So maybe Becky, it's like twice a week with my trainer, daily dog walks, I don't know, meal service. Oh, oops, I lost you. Let me know in the chat if you can still hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, I think
Now
we're
we
back.
can see you.
My internet just like went out. I think we're good. Okay, so think about the before we jump to like the commitment level and the belief, I want you to take it back a step. What do you need to do? So for Becky, I was putting words in her mouth, but like maybe she needs to book with her trainer twice a week and just like keep that commitment. Maybe she needs to plan when is she going to walk her dog because it's good for both of them. That's their movement. Maybe there's some food related to do. And ideally, you don't have more than like 5 action steps that are going to help you get there. If you have more than 5, you just go into the overwhelmed territory and then it's like nothing's going to get done. Because when we're overwhelmed, we do nothing, right? So 5 action steps maximum. Maybe it's like get to sleep by 10:30. Like come hell or high water, I'm getting to sleep by 10:30. No matter what is distracting me. Maybe it's I'm going to the gym twice a week, 3 times a week. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's daily walks, maybe it's seeing a personal trainer or a physio. I'm just throwing some ideas out there. Maybe it's like getting back on track with water, like setting alarms every 2 hours in my phone to drink a cup of water. Oh, I didn't even talk about food, did I? No, but you all know about food. Drink lots of water, eat lots of veggies, get some protein in that body, eat real food, how Mother Nature created it, one ingredient. If you can not recognize the package, the ingredients on the package, your body does not recognize them and does not enjoy them. Those are like the food basics. Eat until you're satisfied, not stuffed. Sit while you're eating, those kind of things. Anyways, so pop a couple, what are your action steps that are going to help you get there? So Becky, Nancy, what's going to make you lose 10 pounds? Or I like to say release, as you all know, because if we say lose, what we lose, we often find. So how are we going to release 10 pounds? Sharon, how are you going to be ready for New Zealand? 40 days. That's such a great amount of days. How are you going to get to New Zealand, get off that plane and be like, I am going to rock these treks? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to walk around with a backpack on your back 3 days a week? Like put it, like really put it to like, what are 5 things you can do for the next 40 days? Let's take Sharon, 40 days is like a real spiritual number. Like, let's say 40 days. What are we going to do for the, it simplifies it too. What are we going to do for the next 6 weeks, the next 40 days? Someone's better at math than me. Is 6 weeks, 40 days? I think it's like 42. I'm not great at math. Okay, Shamini, minimum of 3 liters of water. And you know what I love about that? You either do it or you don't. It's very subjective, you know, like, and maybe this is like a liter. It's a teacup that's a liter. So if I drink 3 of these a day, I can check that off my list. So Shamini, I love that. It's so specific. You can't really lie to yourself. It's like, no, I only had 1 of these. Well, that's not 3 liters, babe. Let's do better tomorrow, you know? So let's put some things that are really concrete, really, there's no like opinions around it. It's like you're either stronger or you're not, but how will I know? Well, I went to the gym twice a week for the last 40 days and I'm proud and I feel like I've really moved forward. So yeah, okay, we're getting some specifics now. And so there's one of my coaches, she always says to me at the end of our coaching calls, okay, what's your level of certainty that you can do that for the next 2 weeks? And so literally she's like 1 to 10. How certain are you that you could drink 3 liters of water a day for the next 2 weeks? And if I don't say 10, then she's like, we're not done here. Like, how do we get to, and she's like, if it's not a 10, we either have to change the mindset, change the strategy, or we have to lower the goal. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do 2 liters. That's more realistic. I'm 10 out of 10. I can do 2 liters. And so she'd rather see me hit my daily goal and gain personal commitment and integrity and excitement and belief in myself than constantly go, oh, I didn't quite get to 3 liters and then just think I'm a loser and lose personal integrity. Does that make sense? It's not to say don't shoot for the stars and don't have big dreams. But if you don't believe you can do it, that's not a great place to start from. Does that make sense? So in a way, I'm saying less is more until you gain more self-belief, more momentum, and then you can start having bigger goals because you've got this momentum and this self-belief built up. Okay, Sharon, move in the morning, even if it's short. Something is better than nothing. Yeah, Kate, remember when you coined that? I think it was it something is better than nothing? It was something like that. And it's true. 5 minutes better than no minutes. I love that. Walk every day. Yeah. Slow down. This is very specific. Slow down and enjoy a full cup of tea. I love that. That's so specific. I love it. I do that with coffee. I'm like, okay, I'm going to actually sit here in silence and savor my coffee. And then I'm like, okay, I've arrived. Like, this is a peaceful life. Sometimes the kids come down, but that's okay. I love it. Becky, get to sleep by 10. Daily walks. Daily gratitudes. So these are pretty specific. Increase your water, maybe even making that more specific so you know you can be like, yeah, I've for sure done it. And I want to take a second as you're thinking about maybe your 5 action steps. And I've shared this before, but I think it's so powerful. So personal integrity means you say you're going to do something and you do it. So this is a very important concept. This is in every area of life. You make a promise to yourself, I'm going to drink 3 liters of water a day, for example, and then you do it. And what happens is when you do it, you gain personal integrity, you gain self-belief. And one of my coaches shared it was, it's like a bank account. You have this bank account of personal integrity. When you keep a promise, you make it and you keep it, you put money in the bank account, you put credit in there, you put personal integrity in there. And when you make a promise and you break it to yourself, you lose personal integrity. You take credit out. And the thing is, if you have low personal integrity, that means you have low self-belief, and you're probably not going to stick to your plans, your goals. You're not going to have very good luck at achieving them because you don't have a track record of success and personal integrity. But when you make a promise and you keep it, you start to really raise your personal integrity. And then you can start making bigger plans, bigger goals, bigger promises. And that's when you start to move the needle forward. And so that's why it's better to start small than to start big. And that's the biggest mistake people make on January 1st. That's why less than 5% of people achieve their New Year's resolutions. And by January 20th, most people, I think it's like only 3% are still working towards them. They've already given up because they try to do too big of a thing at once. And they don't have small steps, and they don't have personal integrity. They're like, oh, it's day 3 and I already drank a bottle of wine, so I guess I'm not meant to achieve this goal of no alcohol. But it wasn't, no alcohol was too big of a goal. It wasn't manageable for them because they just went from drinking a bottle of wine a day over the holidays to saying no alcohol, and that wasn't a small enough step. Does that make sense? So if you're going from no walks, maybe you don't go to daily walks. Maybe you go to 2 walks a week. If you're going from no exercise, maybe you go to, so, and I think our brains are so good at like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to change this, I'm going to, and then we get into overwhelm. And I'll say it again and again, but an overwhelmed person does nothing in the end. It's just crippling. It's literally like paralyzing to be in overwhelm. And so that's why less is more, less is more. I'll say it again, I'll say it again. So I want you to think about, how can I get my belief up? And one of the simplest ways is to chunk down your goal into it's going to seem almost stupid and way too simple for your amazing conscious genius brain, but literally start so small that it seems silly, and you're going to be like, oh, that'll be so easy. But like, make it really easy for the first week and then gain a little momentum, and then you can start putting more complex goals. Does that make sense? So I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they're like, I'm going to change everything overnight, and I've got to go from like eating junk food all day to like eating 100% clean, and it's just not realistic. Another thing I want to talk about is just briefly I'll call it your ego. Some of you have heard me use that word. There's something that we all have. It's this little voice. Some people call it the ego, the small self. And it's this part of us that wants to keep us safe. It wants to keep us comfortable. It wants to keep us the same. It doesn't like when we say we want to lose 10 pounds. It doesn't like when we say we want to make more money or have a better marriage or have a cleaner house, because it's like, well, that's different, and different scares the crap out of the ego. So I just want to invite you. This is something that like I'll mention a lot if I'm coaching with someone, but it's like, as soon as you commit to a health goal, I promise you, it's like you're going to scare all these thoughts out of the woodwork, and they're going to be like, you can't do this. This is too hard. Now you're sick all of a sudden. Now you have this nagging injury come out of the woodwork. I just had a bird fly in my window, but it was gently. It didn't get hurt. So you're going to have, and I'm just telling you, I'm not wishing this upon you. But I'm basically guaranteeing that you're going to have some nasty inner bitch, inner critic thoughts that are going to say, but you've never had success with this. And then your husband's going to bring home a box of chocolates, of course. Like, all these hilarious things are going to happen. And you're going to be like, what the heck? Like, why are you trying to sabotage me, world? But it's just the way it works. When you say you want to achieve something, all the little reasons why you can't or shouldn't or won't will come out of the woodwork. And guess what your job is? You first get to laugh, because you know now it's supposed to be that way. It's going to always be that way when you set a new goal. Second thing you get to do is say, no, 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 no. I'm going to rise. I'm going to say no to I'm not saying you can't have a chocolate, but like, I'm going to say, oh no, I'm good. I don't need the chocolates, after you laugh, because it's hilarious that the day you said you're going to go off sugar, that your husband brings home these discount chocolates from the grocery store. This has happened to me. And yeah, like, has anyone ever noticed like that inner critic? Like, like, for example, this is the biggest for me, is if I invest in a program with a coach, then my mind goes nuts and it's like, you're a loser. You're not going to stick to this. It's going to be the same old thing again. You should try to get a refund because you're definitely not like worthy of this. And all my thoughts go crazy. So I just want to really, really, really drive home the idea that there is a part of you that wants you to stay safe, not happy, not healthy, not thriving, not succeeding, not changing, not expanding, but safe. And safe doesn't mean good. It just means the same. And I love this analogy of the thermostat. I think it's worth repeating, even though some of you have heard me say it. But like our comfort zone where our ego likes to be is like, it's like a thermostat in your house. And it's like say it's set, I don't know, some of you are from the US, but like, I'm going to say like, it's set at 21 degrees because I don't know Fahrenheit. So let's say it's set at like 21 degrees. And then when it gets a little hot, the air conditioning kicks on and it brings you back to 21. And when it gets a little too cold, the heat comes on and brings you back to 21. Well, our brain is like that. And so when we say we're going to lose 10 or 15 or 20 pounds, or we're going to do all these things, our thermostat is here at 20 pounds overweight. And so when we start to lose weight, our brain is like, this isn't right. This isn't normal. This isn't safe. I don't know this territory. And so it brings us all these thoughts to pull us back to baseline. And I mean, knock on wood, believe me or don't, I even get sick. Like I will get literally sick. Like I don't know, throw up, or I'll get the flu, or I'll do something to bring me back to my thermostat level, or I'll get injured. If I'm getting too fit or too healthy, or if I'm getting too thin and I've lost a lot of weight and my brain is like, what? Then I'll get injured or sick up until now. So it's a real thing. And then opposite side of it, if you get to the point where you're like, my bank account's too low, my weight's too out of control, my house is too messy, then we kick in. Our brain goes, this is not cool. We got to at least get back to like our baseline. Is that making sense? So it goes both ways, and it's good because we can't get like it helps us not get too out of control out in the wrong direction, let's say, but it also doesn't want us to get too successful in health, in wealth, in relationships, and it'll put things in your path to bring you back to baseline. So does this making sense? Put up your hand if it makes sense. So anyways, now I'm just planting that awareness, that seed. And if you're like, I'm not sure if that applies to me, just be open to the idea. Because it's not to scare you or to dissuade you. It's just so that you're aware when you get a nasty thought or you get a little bit sick, that you don't believe it. You don't use that as a reason to say, oh yeah, it's probably not meant to be, and you go, oh, this is actually exciting. I would invite you excitement to be like, oh my gosh, I'm about to transcend into a new level of success. And my brain is terrified of change. And so it's giving me this challenge to overcome, instead of being like, I'll share so my whole family, like stomach flu went through my whole family the last few days. And I was like pissed off yesterday. I'm like annoyed that I didn't feel well. And I just invested with a coach, like for a pretty big investment. And my brain was like, you should ask for a refund. This literally was yesterday. My dog was like being such a jerk. I'm like, I should just give this dog back. And like all these nasty things were happening. And I realized this is 100% my brain trying to sabotage me actually showing up for you guys today and like working on my business. And I wanted to just blow everything up yesterday, but I was like, no, my baseline is here. And now I'm bumping up and I'm actually helping more people. And I'm like actually really excited about my career again. And my baseline is like doing nothing. I'm not coaching. I'm not doing anything. So my brain's like, what the heck? I'm going to make her have a shitty day with her dog. I'm going to make her, have all these self-doubts. I'm going to have her whole family get sick. And that might seem extreme. I'm not saying we all got sick because of my choice to work with a new coach, but I just am saying it because I had to decide yesterday, no. That doesn't mean I'm going to ask for a refund. That means I'm going to double down because it's important to me. And my ego is going nuts right now. And I'm going to stay positive and keep moving forward. So that's just my invitation to you. When you feel like everything's against you and things are hard and you're having all these weird challenges come out of the woodwork, just know that that means you're on a really good path to something better, and just know that you can get through it. And usually it's just a quick mindset shift. I can handle this. I can get through this. I got this. I'm moving on to higher levels of abundance, success, and love. There's a great book if anyone's really interested in this topic of like pushing up against your like barriers. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and he's a psychologist. And he literally is like, it's literally science. Like, you will, when you create a new goal for yourself, you will find ways to sabotage yourself because you're afraid of success, you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of outshining people. There's all these old conditioning deep in our nervous system that keeps us from success. So it's a really fascinating read. Yeah, Gay, it's literally spelled like Gay, Hendricks. And it's called The Big Leap. And it's like one of the best personal growth books I recommend in the world. Because it doesn't make any sense. Why would I sabotage myself? That doesn't make sense. But it's because we are wired for safety, because we lived in really crazy times. Our ancestors had to fight for their lives, against saber-toothed tigers, and they didn't know when they'd eat next, and there was famines, and so our nervous systems are set for safety. And so anything that's a little bit scary or different freaks our nervous system out and brings us back, tries to bring us back to baseline. But when we know that, we can say, no, I'm going to keep going. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, so watching out. Any questions on that? Any like yeah buts, or like this doesn't make any sense? Because sometimes if a question can bring a lot of clarity. Everyone's just pondering. Okay, so I want to go back to your own words. When I asked, like, what was kind of the thing that made you feel like couldn't be 10 out of 10, knowing with complete certainty that this goal was yours? So Becky said schedule. And yeah, and Becky, I am with you, girl. My schedule has been a challenge for me for many years. So I just want to say like bullet point ideas, because we don't have time to go deep on coaching, but one is less is more always. And I think you're like me. We think we can pack 200 pounds in a 10-pound bag in a day. And so just knowing, yes, we can do a lot and we're high achievers, and you can only really do a few things really well in a day and get the fulfillment and the quality and the enjoyment out of them. So if we're trying to do a million things, we usually drop the ball, we're not fully present. And I don't believe we're fully connected to like source and presence, and like we can't really show up fully. So less is more. Make sure you have some white space in your calendar, because there's always going to be things that come up, especially you have a couple kids, you have a dog, you have a husband with health challenges. There's always going to be things that come up. So, don't pack your schedule so tight that you have no wiggle room. And then the truth is, we all have 24 hours in a day. And there's an old Beyonce meme. It's like Beyonce has the same 24 hours a day as we do, and she seems to get a lot done. But like, it's a choice. Everything's a choice. What are we prioritizing? And I'm not a time management expert or whatever, but sometimes it's a matter of literally just being like, taking an audit of your day for a couple of days and being like, what am I actually doing that's taking up time? And sometimes it's surprising. Like, sometimes it's like too much scrolling or too much Netflix, or, your sister calls in a big fluey about something and you take an hour to help her, but really you needed to have told her, I can't support you today. And so that's an example, but like prioritizing your time. And usually, this isn't always, but usually if you put like the thing that's the hardest earlier in the day, you'll have more success, because willpower is finite. And so we start the day, this is a big principle, we start the day with quite a bit of willpower, and this has been proven. And every decision we make, we have micro decisions: what to eat, what to wear, whether to walk the dog now or later. We have all these micro decisions, and they take willpower. And so by 4 p.m., we don't have much left. And so if we're trying to rely on willpower to go to the gym or walk the dog or make a healthy meal, and we haven't set things in motion to make that really freaking easy for ourselves, like having a trainer booked at 4 p.m. or having your meal pre-prepped, it's more often that we bail on the workout or we get takeout on the way home or whatever, or we eat cereal for dinner because we haven't prepared for when we're at our lowest energy and willpower. Does that make sense? So those are just a couple principles of scheduling. Something that I've had success with is creating my schedule on the weekend for the week ahead. When I'm at my best, when I'm rested, when I'm not just like scrambling. So maybe on Saturday morning usually works well for me. And then I schedule the week, and then I do my very best when I'm in the week not to change it all around. Because when I get into the week, it's easy to be like, oh, I'll do that later, I'll do that. But really, when I was at my best Saturday morning, well rested, happy, nothing on the schedule for the day, like with my family, just like flowing, I made this awesome schedule. But then on comes Monday, oh, I don't feel like doing that. But really, my highest self on Saturday was like, we got to do the bookkeeping and it's got to happen Monday. But then when Monday comes, I'm like, yeah, I don't really feel like it. So sticking, and that's personal integrity too. Like, we said we're going to do something, we do it. So, Becky, I'll open it up. Like, does any of that resonate? What feels helpful from that? Do you want to share out loud?
Yeah, the open space is definitely important with my husband's health because it's kind of been rough for the last few weeks. But I plan to do the scheduling, like doing the schedule again, like on the weekends for the following week. Like right now, it's pretty much I wake up and I don't really look at my schedule. I just like when my reminder came up, you have Charmaine. It's like, oh gosh, I forgot I had Charmaine. Like it's really been a little crazy. So I think just being aware of what my week is and then putting in my workouts and stuff like that and having white space so that when my husband's having a bad day, I don't get all flustered. Like, oh, now it just shot my day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And I just felt inspired to share also. And I know we've talked about this, but I think it's a good reminder. Like all of us, when you are resourced and you have your schedule set and you've stuck to the schedule for weeks and weeks and you've done your workouts and you're meditating or whatever, your qigong, your walks in nature, whatever makes you thrive. Then when medical crisis with a family member comes up or daughter needs you to babysit for a week straight, you're like, okay, you can think about it rationally and be like, I can do this without totally neglecting my health and going crazy and losing ground. So I don't know. I've always liked the analogy of like a ship, like an anchored ship. And then when the waves come, it's like it's anchored because it's anchored and you're the ship. This is a bad analogy, but it's like you're anchored with self-care, with your fitness is doing pretty well, your exercise, your food, you've been getting enough rest, you've been doing stress reduction once in a while, you've done some things to fill your cup. And so when then the waves come, the health crisis, or I don't know, whatever, I'm not trying to call anything into our lives, but you're just like, you're so solid, you're so anchored, you're so resourced that you're like, oh yeah, I can help a friend who just lost her husband, or I can, and it's such a good feeling to be able to pour from this full cup instead of like, oh my God, like how am I going to fit that in my schedule? I know I should, but it's like such an expansive feeling to be like, oh, like I have a friend in need, I can go help them. Like, I don't know. I think that's a really cool feeling instead of being like, when my husband gets sick, I'm like, fuck, like I don't got time for this shit. And more lately, I'm like, oh, my husband has the flu. Like I can love on him instead of being like, he's throwing my schedule out the window. So I just invite, like, it's a nicer way to do life. Does that resonate, Becky? And everyone? Um, awesome. Okay. So we talked about schedule, stress. So stress is really, there's two pieces of stress always. One is how can we reduce stress in our lives? And that's a big topic. Maybe there's people that we need to spend less time with. Maybe we need to expose ourselves to less stressful news or people or environments or things. Maybe we just put less on the schedule, like I was saying to Becky, because sometimes stress just comes from being too rushed. It doesn't even have to be that stressful of a life, but we just have we're just rushing from one thing to the next, and that feels stressful, even though the things are nice. You want to do them, they're great, but you're rushing, and that causes physiological stress. So think of how can you reduce stress? And then, on the other point, there's no way to avoid stress altogether. So how can you manage it, handle it better? And that comes down to keeping your boat anchored, doing your self-care in the good times. Um, like, I mean, you all know because you read my email, but my son was in the hospital off and on for 4 months. And I went into that like quite resourced. Like, I was fit, I was healthy, I had been meditating every day for an hour. And I'm like, that was like the most proud experience of my life because I like showed up like with faith, with belief, with intention. Like, I was like praying over his medicine. I was like having conscious conversations with his doctors. I'm like, I even like checked him out of the hospital at one point because I'm like, we need to go home for a couple of days to regroup. Like, but I was like mama bear. Like, I knew what my kid needed. I knew what our family needed. But if I wasn't resourced, and I don't say this lightly because the doctors wanted to take out his colon, I think he would have probably had no colon right now. And like, I'm not saying wrong or right, but I was like, no, like that's not happening. And I was like, my husband was like crying and like freaking out. And I'm like, no, we got this. Like, and I'm not bragging, but it's because I was so resourced. I was like, I was so in touch with my intuition. I was like, so like grateful for the doctors and grateful for my own intuition and like bringing those together. And like, it was just like, but if I had been exhausted, depleted, burnt out, like I could not have showed up like that. So I just want to say that because like I think we're all going to have challenges thrown at us. I don't wish it upon us, but at the same time, a smooth sea never made a strong sailor. And I don't think that we are given challenges without reason. I think it's to make us show up bigger in our lives. But yeah, lots to say about stress mitigation. I'm a huge advocate for meditating, walking in nature, making sure you get sun on your face every day, deep breaths. Let's take 3 right now. um, Qigong, yoga, fitness, anything that mitigates your stress. And a really sometimes just taking away. That's the best thing we can do. Like take things away that bring you stress. Take out social media, take out news, take out, you know, I say don't say it too lightly, but like people that stress you out, it's like just like spend less time with them. So anyway, but so stress, is that helpful at all, Lana? And sometimes like, and actually more than often than not, it's not even the thing that's stressful. It's the thoughts we make up about the thing. So sometimes it's just like, we kind of work ourselves up into a tizzy about something. And it's like, really, we're just a speck in the infinite universe. We don't need to be so stressed about this thing. Sometimes it's just kind of being more playful and kind of laughing at ourselves and like, no, I really don't need to carry this much tension about this. But this is coming from the woman who literally would make tea with her butt clenched and like worry the sky was falling constantly. So don't take don't think that I haven't struggled with that too. Okay, Sharon says priorities. And what I feel intuitively to say about that is like, I know you, Sharon, and I know most women on this call, and I know most women in the world put everyone before ourselves. And so, I'm to the point that some people would call me like a selfish bitch, but I'm like, no, sorry, can't do that. Like, I got to take care of me first. And I used to feel like so awkward not saying yes to everything, but now I'm like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I'm not kidding. Like, if it's not a yes in my entire system, it's a no. And maybe it's not a no forever, but it's a no right now because I said no to myself for years to say yes to everyone else. And it caused me depression, caused me anxiety, it caused me burnout, caused me lack of fertility. It caused me a lot of problems. And so now I'm just like, I am a stand for all of you. Like, if you're not putting yourself at the top of that priority list, you're not actually in the long run going to serve your family. I promise you that. And I say that from someone who burnt myself into the ground by putting everyone else ahead of myself. thinking it was the right thing to do because that's how I was raised. And B, lost my mom in her early 60s to cancer. And I don't necessarily know that's because she put herself at the bottom of the list, but I definitely don't think that helped her. And, I think if she had prioritized her well-being, I think she might still be here today. So that's, again, not to scare anyone or put fear of it, God into anyone or put anything into the ethers that doesn't need to be there. But I don't think it's selfish to put ourselves first. I actually want to flip that on the head and say it's selfish to put yourself at the bottom of the list because you might not be able to be there for your loved ones sustainably if you don't. So I think it's like flip that on its head. I just noticed the word gay in the comments and made me laugh. It's Gay Hendricks. I just scrolled down to see if there's any comments and it just said gay. All right, gotta laugh, right? Okay, so is that helpful a little bit, Sharon? Priorities? Okay, Suzanne, lack of focus, giving yourself too many choices. Anyone else like that? I am. I call it like the shiny object syndrome. So I want to share this acronym for focus that I learned from one of my mentors, George, who, Becky, you know George. He says focus, follow one course until successful. FOCUS. Follow, write it down. It's really powerful. Follow one course until successful. So that's the focus acronym. And the reason I love it is because literally I was that person. So many choices, so many ideas, so much excitement. And I'd be like all over the place. And there's a saying that says if we try to catch too many rabbits, they all get away. And so it's a really good feeling to catch one rabbit and to finish a job. And it builds self-belief and it builds integrity and it builds fulfillment. And so, of course, I think you're probably like me, Suzanne. We have lots of ideas. We like to live in inspiration and all that. And it's great. And it's a gift and a curse. And so we can use the gift part and then we can tame the curse part by saying, okay, one thing at a time. My husband was laughing because I'm like, I'm going to take down the Christmas decorations today. And I literally had like, I'm not kidding, I have 10 huge Tupperwares of Christmas. And instead of like doing one room at a time, I like brought every room into one and the whole room was full. And it stayed like that for like 3 days. And he's like, maybe next time, like one room at a time. But like my mind was like, I'm just going to bring it all together and then it's going to be so fun. And it wasn't fun at all. It was just overwhelming. But it was more fun in the moment to just bring everything into my dining room than to actually put it all away as I went. So I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful, Suzanne, but it's such a good feeling to like finish a job, isn't it? Well, I think it is. Doesn't happen that often for me. But when it does, it's awesome. So yeah, I love that acronym, follow one course until successful. I always think of that. When I think of George, I'm like, damn it, George, you're right. I've got too many. And think about energy too. If we have all these open energy loops, it's exhausting. And it's like, so get out of overwhelm, put it on paper and just like decide, like Sharon said, prioritize. Not that great at that either, so I won't try to pretend that I am. But just put numbers to it. Which one's bothering me the most? Which one's the loudest? I'm going to do that one first, even though it's going to be painful. I don't really want to do it. I put on some music. I'm going to make a coffee. I'm going to make a tea and I'm going to just get it done. So does that help, Suzanne, a little bit? Focus. Okay. Yeah, and so Sherry, medical issues, lots of challenges with what you can do. And so I just want to invite you to bring a lot of grace and love to yourself, a lot of compassion, like you would with your son if he was injured or struggling, because I know you're hard on yourself. And when we're beating ourselves up and wishing things were different, we're in resistance. And resistance is just a waste of energy all around. And so the word acceptance is very controversial. People don't like it. But the truth is, if you're resisting where you are, Sherry, or anyone, you're just spending all your energy wishing it was different, being annoyed with it, being frustrated. And that is a low vibrational energy to move from. And I'm not saying go to like, I love my injuries. I love that my foot hurts like hell and I can only walk a block. But can you get to, I'm frustrated. I wish it was different. And I'm going to find one thing to be grateful for my body today. And I'm going to do some bicep curls because my feet are just aching. And I don't think walking is actually going to serve me today, but I'm going to still move my body. Like, can we move a degree higher? Because staying in frustration, disappointment, resistance, wishing it was different, wishing the past, I could totally go there too. And I'm not saying you're doing this, but like sometimes I'm like, sometimes I'll trip out of nowhere because of my spinal cord injury. And for a split second, I'm like, fuck, I wish I never injured my back. And it sometimes makes me a little sad and it sometimes makes me a little annoyed. And then I quickly, because I know energetically being in that vibration is not going to help me, I'm like, okay, but at least I'm walking and I'm not rationalizing it. If you need to go to a deep, dark place of anger and frustration, do that too. And that's something I did with like a therapist, and I've worked through a lot of grief and I still have more to go. But in the moment, if you're not going to go deep and really process an emotion and move through it, it is better to be in a higher vibration to try to move from. Does that make sense? Because if we're always like, like I have so many medical challenges, it can be so overwhelming and crippling almost. It can really become a block to movement because it's just like, it's so heavy. And we want to be light. We want to be in love, excitement, abundance, hope, faith, trust. Where am I going? What's possible? And if we're always in, where I'm at and the issues that and trying to resist them, that's like such a heavy, dense energy to try to change from. So transformation happens a lot more readily and fast and with a lot more ease and grace when we're in possibility, excitement, love. And gratitude is a stepping stone. So if you can get to a little bit of gratitude, I remember there was a saying, it was like, if you have a flat tire, the first where most people are at, or they're just so freaking mad that they have a flat tire. And then it's like, okay, I can't even remember the analogy, but it's like, how can we quickly move from that frustration to like, hey, what am I going to do about it? And then just like gratitude, I even have a car, and like just getting out of the negativity, and it'll be a lot less painful, and it'll get through that experience a lot quicker. I know energetically, I think if I'm in a high vibe, then some cute guy would pull over and help me change my tire. Like, but if I'm just like, the world sucks, I'm just going to be like dirty on the side of the road, getting splashed with dirt, trying to do it myself because I'm so angry that I had a flat tire. And this is a funny example, but I have a dog now. And yesterday I was at the dog park and I was like so annoyed with him. He wouldn't come. And then I had to get a guy's like, do you want my help? And he like tackled my dog for me. And like, it was so embarrassing. But like, I have a dog trainer starting next week. I talked to her and she's like, yeah, the more frustrated you get, the less likely they're going to come back. Because why would they want to come back to this like grouchy woman? I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because they feel your energy, right? And it's like that with everything. Everything's energy, right? So that's my invitation for you, Sherry. Kate, getting the basics together. So again, I think that's like start smaller and gain momentum again, because you used to have some good momentum and you just need to get back, but it doesn't happen overnight. So just start small. Like what's something with 10 out of 10 certainty, Kate, you can know you'll do for the next week? And start with like, and make it dumb simple. Like your brain's going to be like, no, you can do this and this and this. You can do the food, you can do the sleep, you can do the water all at once. You can start working out again. Maybe, but probably you won't. And then you'll be like, oh, there I go again. And then you'll pack on the self-shame and oh, there I go again. Can't get it right. So starting small, building that personal integrity, it'll seem kind of dumb and your ego will be like, come on, Kate, you can do better than that. But then you're like, no, actually, I'm going to start small because I know that's the key to success. And then you'll start to build momentum. And then water will become and that's what I love to talk about too, is like, for me, water is just a natural action now. It's not a challenge anymore, but it used to be a challenge. And so I want you to get things on autopilot so they just happen. It's as much easy as walking and breathing, and then you could add the next thing. So don't try to do too many things at once. Um, and some people can maybe manage two things at once. And it'll also depend on your life. You've got two little kids, so maybe you do less than most normal people who don't have kids to manage. Like, and so just give yourself a lot of grace. Is that helpful, Kate? Awesome. Um, okay. Cool, cool, cool. So that's like our hour. I just want to do a quick review. Hopefully you have a couple minutes. So we talked about a few things. We talked about how you want to achieve these health goals, and it's really not that complicated. It's actually pretty simple, but it's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because often we try to do too much at once. We overwhelm ourselves, and so we end up doing nothing. So the antidote to that is chunking things down into small chunks and fighting your ego that's going to tell you, do everything now. And just say, no, 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 I'm going to start small and I'm going to build. Um, it's easier to add than have to take away and lose integrity and be like, oh man, I didn't even do the things I said. I'd rather you say, I drank a liter of water every day and I'm proud. And then next week add on movement, then say, I didn't do any of the 5 or 10 things I said I was going to do. Another one is that personal integrity. So just like, this is the hardest thing in the world, by the way. This is why most people don't succeed, is they don't keep promises to themselves. They'll break a promise to themselves 10 times quicker than they will to anyone else. And so I want to invite you, keep the promises to yourself more than anyone else. I'd rather you break a promise to a friend and break off a coffee date so that you can get more rest than keep the coffee date, but break your promise of, exercising or resting. So that's an invitation, flipping that. The idea of like self-care, flip it. It's not selfish to put yourself first. It's actually selfish not to, because in the long term, you're not going to be able to show up the way you need to and want to and deserve to for your family, community, friends, if you're burnt out, sick, exhausted. And then, yeah, really watching out for that ego. Because when you commit to a new goal, it will challenge you because it doesn't want you to change. And it's not an evil thing. It's just that it was built into us because our ancestors lived in a time where they had to fight for their lives. And so we have this in our DNA to be afraid of big changes. And we have it in our DNA to want to stay safe and comfortable. And so just invite you to keep your eye open for that. Like interesting that all these thoughts are coming up, or, oh, my foot started to hurt, or I got sick out of nowhere. I'm not saying, I got literally was like sick on the toilet, but I was like, that's interesting. Like 2 days after I commit to this huge coaching program, my whole family gets sick. And like, I'm thinking I need to throw in the towel because, and it wasn't so much with the sickness, but it was like how my mind was internalizing it. I'm like, here we go again. Everyone's sick. This is how life goes. I'm probably not going to be able to succeed with my career because Emmett might go back to the hospital or I might get depressed again. And then all of my thoughts started going. And I was like, no, 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 stop. It's just a little stomach flu. Let's be okay. Let's keep going. So you get to decide if you're going to go down the rabbit hole and believe your thoughts or if you're going to become the master of your thoughts. And then focus. I thought that was a good one too. Like, that's probably another banger of a tip for the day. Like, what if you just focused on one course until successful and you did that once a day, Suzanne, or me? I'll take that too. How different would your life look? Or even if you once a week focused one course until successful. A lot could change in a year. A lot could change in a week or a month even. And then, yeah, so that was like a little summary. That was a lot of fun. But I really want to bring home the point. It's not so much the strategy that we're missing, because I think most of us know exercise, eat healthy, sleep enough. I think it's more the mindset and the energy we're bringing to it. So I can go on for 2 more hours, but I said it was an hour training. So if you have to jump off, I will send the recording out. And then I'm going to stop the recording now. But if anyone wants to ask questions, I love questions. And if not, I hope you have an incredible week. Start to 2024. I am crafting like a program. It's definitely going to involve once a week live movement and joyful movement mindset sessions with me. And then every 2 weeks, a Q&A kind of coaching call like this, and a couple other things. So I'm going to send an email out about that if you're interested in kind of staying connected. And yeah, other than that, I'll open it up for questions and I'll send a follow-up email. Thank you for being here.